What's up, young girl gang? It's Dr. Joy here, and you are watching Delivering Joy MD Wink edition. So today I'm going to be giving you my 5 tips for how to shine during an interview. So we go on interviews for all sorts of things these days: jobs, scholarships, schools, internships, and I want to make sure you know what to do, girl. So make sure you keep on watching. All right, YGG, let's get to it. Rule number 1 is that you always put your best foot forward. So when you go to this interview, you want to make sure that you present yourself well. You want to have, your outfit picked out depending on where you're going. You want to look professional. If you're going maybe to do retail interview, you may want to look trendy, look like somebody that they want to have representing their company or school or program. And so make sure you've kind of researched where you're going, who you're going to be meeting with, who your audience is, because as soon as you step in that door, it's lights, camera, action. So make sure that you greet each person warmly, that you have a firm handshake, that you make eye contact, that, from the door all the way to the back office, that you acknowledge each person that you're passing with a nod, or if they speak to you, you speak back or you wave. Just make sure that you have that, that you're engaging with the folks there. So one of the things that I think is also very important is making sure that our hair, our nails, and our makeup are appropriate, because every look is not appropriate for every setting, right? So, make sure that you have a hairstyle that looks appropriate. Make sure that you have nails that look appropriate. If you have 9-inch glittery nails, I love it. But if you're going to an interview to work at Chick-fil-A, probably not going to fly, because they're going to be like, okay, gross stuff gets under your nails. Like, how do you do a job quickly and efficiently with those nails? So make sure that what you're presenting to that particular job or program or school makes sense for who they are and what they do. So that's rule number 1. Posture is a big deal, y'all. Make sure that you are not like looking like this when, the person interviewing you walks up in the room. We want to sit up straight, look attentive, making good eye contact. We want to speak clearly and make sure we project. I mean, you don't want to be screaming in anybody's face, but you shouldn't be like this either, where we can't really tell what you're really saying. You know what I'm talking about? So make sure that you enunciate or pronounce your words properly, and that you say what you're saying clearly. Be a professional, girl. You know what I'm talking about. So those are all things that we're going to do to present ourselves well. We're going to speak like a pro. We're going to make eye contact, have a firm handshake, be well groomed and prepared. Our outfit is going to be ironed. It's going to be neatly put on. So don't look a mess, okay? Look nice. And if you need some opinions, get some opinions from some people you trust about your outfit choice and how it looks on you. It might look really cute on the hanger, but how it looks on your body is a whole different story. So just make sure that you are putting your best foot forward. So number 2, I always tell people to know something about the person or the company or the school that you're interviewing for, because they like to see that you've done your homework, and you don't want to be looking foolish going up in there asking questions that you should know the answer to. Like if someone walks up in Chick-fil-A and says, what are all these cows about? Well, you should know the cow is the Chick-fil-A mascot. I mean, they're only like on every billboard. So go on that company's website. If it's an individual, Google them or go on their website and just read about them. Everybody has this little About Us tab on their website that tells you about the company, how it was formed, who the owners are, all those sorts of things. Read about that in advance. And if you know the name of the person who's going to interview you, Google them too, girl. If they have if you're interviewing for a position in a class at a school, if they have research that they've done, if they've done major bodies of work, or done shows that you want to be a part of or whatever, know those things. Because if you're like me, sometimes I get a little uncomfortable in social settings, but if the more I know, the more I can talk about confidently. So make sure that you know something about who you're going to see. Don't ask questions that that you could have found just by actually clicking on the homepage of their website. Speaking of questions, number 3 is that you should have some thoughtful questions prepared. So really look at the job description or the requirements for what you're interviewing for, and just kind of get an idea of whether or not this is something that you really want to do, number 1. And number 2, do you really meet those job criteria? I know sometimes we want to get into doing stuff because it makes a lot of money, or it's cool, or someone else is doing it, but make sure it's something that you can really devote yourself to and do a good job at before you interview for it. If you don't really meet the criteria for a particular scholarship, why interview for it? All right. So make sure that you have the skills, or that you feel confident you can get the skills to do the job or to fill the role that you're interviewing for. So ask some good questions during that interview. I always try to have at least one thoughtful question in the pocket, because at every interview, someone is pretty much always going to ask you, well, do you have any questions for me? And so the one go-to magic question that I have always, thrown out there is, what is it that you're looking for in the person that you're looking, to select? What are you looking for in that individual? Because let's just be honest, in the climate that we live in, whenever someone posts a job or a position or an opportunity, they have in their mind kind of who they're looking for. And being a woman and being a person of color, I know I might not fit what they were thinking in their head when they posted this opportunity. So I want to make sure that I understand what they're looking for. And I also want to make sure they know that I can be the woman for the job. And so, having them verbalize those things out loud, and then you saying, oh, well, I fit that description perfectly. I know I'm the woman for the job. Then that just kind of puts in their head like, I really hadn't thought about a woman for this job. I really hadn't thought about a person of color for this job. But she seems really confident, and she put her best foot forward, and she asked me, good questions, and she knew, had done her homework. So I might give her a chance. So that's why you want to have that question. So you can always steal my magic go-to question. What are you looking for in the individual for this position? And then tell them that you are the one for the job. That's right. Be confident about it. That leads us to 4. Let's be confident about talking about our skill set. That doesn't mean that we're cocky or arrogant, but hey, they're looking for someone to fill a role or do a job. So you need to let them know that you can actually do it. There's nothing cocky or arrogant about that. I'm a really good OBGYN doctor. It's nothing cocky or about that. I do a good job with my surgeries. I'm not being cocky. I'm just letting you know that if you need someone to fill the role of an OBGYN doctor, I'm your girl. So that's what we're trying to convey in our interview. Talk about our skills, talk about our training, talk about, our qualifications. And if we don't have a lot of training or qualifications, talk about our personality and how we are always dedicated to being excellent. So be really confident talking about your strengths and your skills and even your weaknesses. Always try to turn your weaknesses into strengths. So like me, your girl is a little ADHD sometimes, I'm gonna be honest with you. But what I always say in interviews is that I tend to take on too many tasks at once. And so I have to stop and refocus and repurpose and make sure that I'm completing each task efficiently. So that's how I turn that weakness into a strength. So you can do the same thing. If there are things that you struggle with, find a way to make those things positive during your interview. So rule number 5 is practice. Practice, 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 practice. Please practice. interviews require some speaking and involvement. So like even if it's a Zoom interview, you want to make sure that you are able to verbalize things and that you can talk about your qualifications, that you can talk to a person and feel very comfortable. And the only way to get comfortable doing that is practice. So let me tell you a story. To become a board certified OBGYN, I actually had to do what's called an oral board exam. So I had collected all my cases, all the patients I had taken care of, all the babies I delivered, all the surgeries I did, and put them in a book, and basically had these two people who wrote like textbooks on OBGYN grill me for 3 hours about what I did, what I would do in a different scenario, and how all these things happen. So to get ready for that test, which was like super crazy and stressful, I started practicing. I started practicing talking to my doctor friends. I started practicing even just speaking out loud in the mirror, because I had to sit there for 3 freaking hours and talk about my skill set. And so you want to practice with someone that you trust, an adult or an older brother or sister or somebody who can be a good mentor for you, and practice doing that interview. Practice talking a little bit about yourself. You should have an elevator speech. Okay, I was born in New York and I moved to Georgia 5 years ago. I'm in the 12th grade and I am looking for after school work that's going to benefit and enrich my abilities and skills going forward as I prepare for college. Something like that. Very quick and dirty. I have 2 brothers and sisters. Just small things that just give them an idea, a little glimpse of who you are. Okay, so those are my top 5 things. Just to review: 1, we always put our best foot forward and we present ourselves perfectly. 2, we know something about where we're going, so know before you go. And we try to know something about the person interviewing us if we have that information to know who's going to be interviewing us. Number 3 is that we have a good, thoughtful question. And I gave you my go-to question, which is, what are you looking for in the individual that you're going to have fill this role? So that's a totally great question that you can always use. And then you're going to put it in their heads that you are the person for this job. If you are the person for this job, like if they're looking for something you ain't got, then you may not want to say that. But anywho, and number 4, we're going to be very comfortable and confident talking about our skill set, our strengths, and even our weaknesses. And we always make our weaknesses look positive. And then number 5, we're going to practice. We're going to practice saying these things, practice putting on our outfit and saying these things so that we can feel totally comfortable and confident in that moment. So, young girl gang, I hope you enjoyed these 5 tips for nailing your interview. And if you liked it, give your girl a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe. And if you've got questions or comments, go ahead and put those down below in the comment section. And I will see you next time for another W.I.N.K episode. Peace.